1, 2, 3, come on.
You're most welcome to the inspiring episode, Passing the Legacy. Now, we are passing on the legacy, whether good or bad, to those who come after us. It could be our children and our mentees. Being mindful of this, parenting or mentoring must be intentional. Our guest tonight is the embodiment of true stewardship and intentional parenting. She's an author of a book. I have a copy here. I'm a proud owner of this copy. It is called The Memoirs of a Working Mother. So we are unveiling Esther Katende Magezi. Esther Katende Magezi, you are very welcome.
Very excited to be here. Thank you for having me over.
Okay. So Esther, tell us a bit about yourself.
As Pamela has told you, my name is Esther. I'm a lawyer by profession. I'm a mother of 3 wonderful children, and I'm happily married to 1 man. I'm passionate about parenting children, deliberately parenting children. But as a bit of background, I went to Gaza High School from S1 to S6. I went to law school, and then went to Law Development Center. So I'm a lawyer by training, but more importantly, my passion is in intentionally raising our children so that they achieve God's purpose on earth, so that they achieve their God-given purpose.
Sounds great. So you and I met in the grade school, Gaza High School, like you said. And that was very many years ago, I must say. They say it takes a village to raise a child. What did Gaza High School have as an impact on you? I actually want to compare notes and see if we are on the same page.
I've modeled my home according to our routine in Gaza. For example, how we would have prep, how we would have reading time, then there's housework time. My children are modeled on that basis. So we also have house cleaning time to read. This is usually during the normal schedule. But even now during COVID time, I've modeled everything on Gaza. So Gaza was a great school in that it taught you how to be excellent, a person of excellence. There's no mediocrity. You work hard, you do a good job, but also taught you that life is not only about academics. You have to balance other aspects. For example, now the aspect of motherhood. There's no class that teaches you how to be a mother, But what I learned from Gaza is that balance, work-life balance, because they do it very well, actually, You find that most Gaza girls are very prayerful. They are generally, in their work ethics, they are very good with their ethical, presentations. And then they are good at home as well. They are good homemakers. So that is something that I picked from Gaza. And I'm very proud to be a Gaza girl.
I can see you're very passionate about your school. Yes, it's good to have good ambassadors out there. And I must say you've been a very good ambassador. So now, Esther, our episode today has been dubbed Passing the Legacy. As your friend, I've seen you go over and above ordinary parents would be to parent your 3 children. Tell us your parenting journey and how this has been as an integral part of your building your legacy. And as you answer that, just give me a second. I need to just get my background sound right. So I shall walk out just briefly as you tell the viewers, just to get the child who's crying to, be quiet. Okay, then.
Okay, that's part of parenting. You have to balance always. When I was much younger, a younger mother, I used to go with my children everywhere I went. I told people that my children are my hand luggage, Everywhere I went, they were with me. So even as I was working in office, at that time I had an office at Ajip House. They would be, in my office somewhere. When they're tired, they would lie down and sleep there. They would always be with me. I believe that children are an inheritance from the Lord, and I believe that children are a blessing. And for me, my personal journey in parenting is from very early on, I decided that my children are not going to be, they're going to be different. It's not going to be the conventional, give birth and let them be there. No, I decided that I'm going to deliberately parent my children. So I made a mental note that for me, all the decisions I would make my children and my family would come first. As a mother, several times you have to make choices, You either have to choose work or to choose being a mother. And for me, I always thought that whenever that conflict came, the issue of motherhood would come first. So there are several times I've given up work elsewhere, abroad. Maybe if I had to travel, I've given it up because it doesn't allow me to, for me as a policy, I don't leave Uganda, longer than 1 week, especially when my children were young. I always say that if I'm going for longer, I have to go along with them. So when they were much younger, I used to do it. But when they became older, it became impossible because of their school schedules. So I would always not go longer than 1 week. And my point was that who is mentoring my children while I'm away? Who's looking after them while I'm away? And motherhood to me is not just about, give birth and have the children. No, it is deliberately mentoring them. So why I walk around with my children is they have to see me in my ordinary day-to-day life. They have to see how I argue, how I persuade, how I don't take no for an answer, how I insist excellence. All those are things they see me do. And those are things I'm passing on to them. Because you see, children, they don't necessarily know what to do, They always follow what they are seeing from you. So you can say one thing, but if you don't do it, they don't follow that. So in working with them, in hanging out with them all the time, they are seeing me do things and I'm passing on my legacy to them.
Wow. That sounds like an uphill task for many of us, but you have succeeded. You've done a great job. Now, you have authored a book, Memoirs of a Working Mother. I am a proud owner of a copy, and we're just going to delve in it shortly. Now, in your book, you assert that the way you raise your children is the way they will raise their children. Tell us about that.
So you find that the parenting decisions I have made today, I learned them from my father's house. The way he raised us and my siblings, we have been, generally all of us are very excellent. I think we are generally very successful. Most of my siblings. And the thing that most people don't understand is that it's stuck in my father's house. So what am I saying is that the way I raise my children is they will raise their children. Just the same way that I'm raising my children in the way my father and my mother raised us. The Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So how are we going to an inheritance for our children's children that will not be stolen? That is by deliberately parenting them. So my first daughter, Isabella, keeps saying that, Mommy, I'm going to raise my children that very same way you have raised us. So that affirms to me that she is watching and you're fulfilling the biblical statements that you leave an inheritance for your children's children.
Wow, that is lovely, lovely. There's a saying that monkey see, monkey do, and I know that our children are watching us. And that's the reason why they eat the food they eat, because it's what we are, training them to, how they eat, how they walk, how they talk. They're basically watching us. And I know that they too will be able to do the same when their time comes. They'll be passing on the same legacy. So I think the thing here is we need to be sure to pass on the right legacy. Let's not do anything that we don't want to pass on to our children or we don't want our children to do in the future. Well, your book was so challenging. I even felt like guilty. I didn't feel like I was good enough as a mother, because you've done a great job, Esther. You've done a great job. You've done a great job. And so still in your book, you say that what we don't teach our children before 12, they may never learn. What do you mean by this?
So this statement, what you don't teach your children before they turn 12, you may never learn. I first heard it from a preaching from a pastor in Washington, who was doing a parenting series. And he says that, before 12, children are generally very attentive to the parent, they're listening and they focus. But after 12, there are so many other factors that start contributing towards their perspectives. So he was saying that we should, as a foundation, we should deliberately go out of our way to fortify the first 12 years of a child. So you find that the schools you take the child to, matter before 12, because you're not going to say, oh, this school is near my home, let me take my child there. No, you have to understand what is their curriculum and what is your goal as a family. Where do you see your children and yourselves in 10, 15 years? What is the curriculum of the school? What do we want to achieve for the child? So it's not just about convenience. Oh, this school is nearer. Or maybe you say, oh, my friends go to this school, let me also go. So what happens when your friends leave, So you have to be intentional, especially in the first 12 years, because that is foundation. And before 12, there that the child listens to you as a parent. You're a glorified person there to them. But as they start becoming teenagers, there's so many other voices and opinions that are coming in. And then they're also having their own opinions. So at that point, it is much harder to influence. It's not impossible, you still influence, yes, but the most part is the first part, the first 12 years. You see, there is a verse in the Bible that says that discipline your children while they still hope, and then you'll not ruin their lives. So that shows there's a period within which a child can be disciplined, within which a child can be formed, you know. And that window, I believe, is among the first 12 years, because then you all have a sort of writing opinion over that child, and they listen and believe, you know, because they're not wholly influenced as with the rest of the world around them. So I believe the first 12 years, that's the time you should really pass on your values. So that means, for me, in my opinion, those first 12 years, the child should be in your care. Basically, they should not be in boarding school. That's just my opinion. Because you see, if God says that you're going to mentor, if the child is given to you to mentor by God, because children are a gift from the Lord. So if God has given you these children to raise them and to mentor them, then you do it while they're still in your hold. Because, you know, when they go out there, you only have 3 months or 3 weeks of holiday and the child is away. So someone else is mentoring them while they're in boarding school at that time. So at this time, you should listen in and talk to them and pass on the things you want them to live with. Because eventually, after 12 or even much later, they leave your nest. And you cannot influence much as opposed to when they are still within your time.
Wow. I can see you're very intentional. You've done a lot of reading, you're listening about parenting, which is really, you know, a challenge to many of us. We need to really be very intentional. We're still moving on. And I, like many parents, have not been keen on getting my children into music or playing a musical instrument or sports. Your book has been a rude awakening for me. You bring out the importance of music and individual sports. Please expound on this. Give us a few practical tips on how, I mean, those of us whose kids are already 11, 9, where can we start from now that our kids are even older? Okay.
Yes, you know, it's never too late to do anything. I mean, Trump is when did he achieve his presidential dream? So it's never too late. My children started music, piano in particular, at age 2. We started at age 2. And this is because we had gone on holiday with my husband when we were a young couple, just gotten almost married. And we met some Korean guy, and he was saying, oh, for us in church, at the time we were telling him, oh, we intend to have children, we've just married. And he was saying that, oh, for them in Korea, they train their children from 3 months old. They train them from 3 months old to start targeting Harvard, you know, Harvard University, one of the Ivy League universities. So he said that for them from 3 months old, they're intentional in the way they're raising their children. And he was saying that music is a very good thing. So he advised us that music, especially piano, helps open a child's mind, that it makes them very good at things like math, reading, especially because they do it, if they do it much younger. Because if you learn how to read music, you know, all those notes that I don't understand. But you can imagine if a child knows how to read those much earlier than when they can speak or when they can write, it makes them more intelligent or more acute, you know, in the mind. So he was advising us that, you know, if you enroll in piano, any music instrument really, but he was saying piano was good because it's a foundation of all music instruments. In other words, if you know how to play the piano, then you can teach yourself violin, guitar, flute, all the others come easily. Just like how my daughter taught herself guitar because she had piano knowledge. But the whole point of piano is that it helps a lot with math. That was the argument. And we've seen it. My children have not struggled through school, you know, because I believe because we started very early on with music. You know, things they can do before they even know how to count, you know, to read ABC, but they learn how to count on their fingers and what finger goes where. The brain-hand coordination at that time, that was very good for their age. And then sports, my children are in swimming. We did swimming. And the reason we involved them in the swimming sport, it's an individual sport, because we wanted to teach them the concepts of grit, or kukaka, lukana. You know, my children call themselves the sausage generation, that their generation is sausages, you know, video games, TV, sausages. But you find that most of those children that age are not empowered, even some millennials actually. They're not empowered to struggle, to handle life, to work hard, you know. They don't have grit in them. You know, they give up easily, things are hard, they chill. But what sports do, individual sports in particular, they teach the child to handle failure. You know, that they are knocked out, they get up and go again. You know, Saturday morning, everyone else is sleeping. At 6 o'clock, they have to be up, rain or shine, and they're in the water. You know, that's something that you can't teach even you as a mother. Then while the parents are all there and other people are all there, they have to swim and they must win. If they lose, the whole world is watching them lose. And it is such a blow on children, but they learn how to handle failure. Now, this is important in later life when so many times in our lives things don't work out. But if you, and many children or parents, as they grow, they become depressed. They can't handle failure because of the things that life has done to knock them out. But I believe individual sports, especially swimming, but it's not only swimming, all the individual sports out there. All the individual sports help children to handle life, to, you know, to struggle to be better. Because especially swimming, it teaches children how to do better than yourself because you're competing against yourself. So you're learning every day that, okay, the other day this was my PB, my personal best. This is what the time I made. Today I have to make a better time. So you're not competing as such with everyone out there. You're competing against yourself. Now, when a child realizes that, oh, I worked hard and I improved, that shows them that, you know, there's a relationship between working hard and you know, excelling. So it teaches them skills that even your mother can't teach, okay? Now, for those, you're saying some of us were late, you know, children are much older. My children started swimming when they were 6, 7. You know, we didn't discover swimming until then, but we still benefited from it. There are people in our swim club, SEALS Swim Club. I'm a proud member of SEALS Swim Club. There are people in the SEALS Swim Club, and we usually meet at company parents, who start even at university. We had students, 2 students, they came at university level, you know, or S6, and they started swimming, and you see the character still coming out and being born in them, even at that point. So it's never late for anything. It's never late for anything. I mean, we have a whole life ahead of us, 80 years plus. Whatever foundation you're building now, there's so much time. You can redo everything. You can press reset at any time, you know, because you have a lot more time ahead than behind you. And we don't usually look at our past. We're not even expected to look at our past because it doesn't define us. But what are we doing going ahead? You know, our years ahead are much better than the years behind us. You know, we move from glory to glory. Amen. So going ahead is what matters, not looking back.
Wow, you actually kind of opened my mind to think about issues of self-motivation as a result of, you know, that personal sport actually does help, individual sport actually does help a lot on self-motivation. And I realized that many of us in our adulthood, we're struggling with that. We have a lot of procrastination. We have a lot of, you know, we're laid back. We think, Kasta, it's about my life. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it whenever. And we as evolving women, we're actually teaching people to evolve to their best self. And evolving to your best self is coming up with that exact skill you're teaching your kids. Yeah. I think one of these days we need you to come and talk to us as evolving women about how we can start it at this age and how we can be able to cultivate that grit to be able to push on, yeah? To be able to push on and get to our best self, which is what you're teaching your kids earlier. And I really commend you for that. You've done a great job. I've seen your kids, they're just super confident. And your book tells us a lot about how ambitious you've been as a parent to push your kids. And I will not spoil it for you and for the readers. They need to buy this book. I read it in a few hours. I never put it down till I was done because it just challenged me. And I just thought to myself, wow, I have a great job to do and a long way to go. So our next question basically is your last chapter, and it was a summary of the nuggets you'd like to pass on to parents. Yeah. Give us 3. I don't want you to give us all. These people have to buy that.
You'll be able to find this book at Aristoc, Book Point, or you can even contact me. I can give you an autographed copy from myself. Number 1, we should invest in the children, not invest for the children. Yes. If you invest in the child, you empower them wherever they go, they are going to excel. Because remember, from the moment you give birth to them, you're raising them to be outside your net, outside your nest. So wherever they should be able to be good team players, good parents, good spouses, wherever they be, because you have raised them for that time. That's why it's important that children do housework at home. It's important that they do their schoolwork well, because if they're not concentrating and grasping the subject matter, it will be they've glossed over, but they'll find problems later in life when they can't apply the subject matter. So it's important that you invest in them, take them places, take them to travel with them. If you travel with them, it's an opportunity for you as a parent to introduce them to concepts first time And you know, the more you travel with them, the more their eyes are opened, and the more your eyes are opened. You know, you discover life together. And in that way, you're empowering them. So invest in the children. Don't invest for them. It's good to also invest for them, you know, to have some fallback financial position, and all that's important. I don't underplay it. It's very important. But know that what you put in the child, they can never steal away. So even when they stay, go and live up country, they don't live with you. They will have the qualities you've ingrained in them. So it is important to invest for the children and not for the children, in the children and not just for the children. The second nugget is that in parenting, we are raising tomorrow's parents. So we should deliberately raise our children. This statement I learned from Dr. Stephen Mokowe. There's a parenting seminar I was doing with some friends of mine. And they were teaching us that, you know, we are raising tomorrow's parents. So if you're raising broken children now, they're going to be broken parents tomorrow. If they have not learned how to parent because you didn't spend time teaching them things, how will they pass that on to their children? What legacy are you as a parent leaving behind? In the Bible, there's a story of a guy called Eli, the chief priest. You know, he was a chief priest and he loved God, but his children were sinning before God. You know, they were conning the women at the altar and all those things. And the dad says that, guys, I've heard what you're doing around, you know, stop it. But the children didn't listen. So God says, I've cut your tribe of Eli. I'm going to kill you guys. You know, it's going to end with you. But can you imagine the impact of that priest in his old age? You find that there are many parents in our parents' generation, guys who are in their 70s and 80s, and their greatest regret is their children. You know, he's very wealthy, he has it all, but his children are breaking his heart. His children are disappointment. They are struggling with drugs, with alcohol, with so many things. They can't work, they can't hold jobs. They're just a mess. And you tell yourself, if he had spent time parenting these children, you know, he has now all this wealth that is going to be put to waste, because probably, in fact, some of these guys, the children are outright saying that, guy, when are you going? We need to sell the property off. Yet they should be working for their own property because God has empowered them. But it is an issue of intentionally parenting children. So let us deliberately parent our children. So that in our old age, we are not like the chief priest Eli, or we are not like these parents whose children are really broken because the parents were busy chasing wealth and the world, and they did not deliberately empower their children. Now, my third nugget is that let us not forget ourselves in the process. I had a friend who was telling me that her mother gave birth to 9 of them. And the mother was regretting, saying her greatest regret is that she had 9 children. So it made me wonder that the mother maybe thought that these her daughters and sons would help her when she grows old. But that should not be our target. So even as you deliberately raise your children, you should not forget yourself. As a working mother, you know, you should keep working. You should, even if you're not working at full mast, you know, your best, you should balance both, because at the end of the day, you will have nothing left and you have nothing, and your children will be excellent. I always give this example of musical chairs, you know, that game of musical chairs where people are singing, you know, there's a song being played and the chair is moved every time. You find that mothers, because they are mothering and doing all these things, they forget, and people are playing music, you know. And at the end of the day, there will be no chair for the mother because everyone else is striving to get excellent, to grow their career, grow their what, and the mother is left behind. So for me, I believe you must balance both. You must not forget your wealth. And then I also want to compare 2 curves. There's the curve of the mother and the father. So as you're growing, the curve is going up for both of you. The mother is growing, the father is growing. When you just started out, the 2 of you married, then you get children, the curve is growing. Then the mother stagnates because their children then starts dipping. Meanwhile, the father is going, father, the older he's getting, more marketable, more jobs, more money. But the mother, you're dipping because you're babysitting, breastfeeding, all those things that come with motherhood. So what happens, the mothers forget themselves and they bury themselves into nurturing this whole family, husband, child, home, but they forget their careers. Now, much later when the children are gone, empty nest, the husband is flourishing up there, the mother is left, you know, just like that. So for me, I believe as a mother, never forget yourself. Even as everyone is going for a musical chair, even as daddy's career is growing, your career must go too. So you must be intentional in keeping your career good, and you must be intentional in ensuring that the career of the children and daddy, so everyone's career must be going up and you should not be left behind.
Wow, you have a lot of wisdom that you are imparting in us right now. And I particularly have been thinking about the stay-home moms. The stay-at-home moms, I wish I could just reach out and hug you if you're a stay-at-home mom. Thanks for the good job you're doing. And it's just an encouragement that you're doing a great job for the future. Also, just to caution you, don't forget yourself. Don't forget yourself, because you don't want to be an angry and bitter mother in the future. But even for the rest of us who are working, let's balance and have the children well taken care of, but balance also and have ourselves taken care of. So we should not forget about that. We also want to particularly, think about the single mothers who don't have the fathers to model out anything to them. But those who have to model out both to the girls and to the boys, this is how life is supposed to be done. Yeah. And it cannot be easy balancing everything and being there for your children and also providing food on the plate for them at the same time. It can't be easy. And I really commend single mothers out there. At this point, I am going to go through the questions.